Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? Sorry I haven't done a results video in a little while. I've been poorly, so now I've got my voice back. I thought we should have a little catch up. If you've not tuned into this channel before and you are brand new here, this is a different way of looking at the football results and chatting, catching up, talking about what we see. We'll be looking at the major leagues in Europe and some further afield in a very calm way, unlike all those other YouTubers who scream and shout and try to make it all exciting with graphics. This is just going to be really chilled, but don't worry, we're still going to talk football, or if you prefer, soccer, for quite a few of my subscribers. Starting with the Premier League. Let's go. Okay, so obviously we have to talk about the Arsenal-Man City match from a week or so ago. Man City with a game in hand, and they did move to top in the Premier League. Currently Arsenal have won that extra game, the 34th game that Man City haven't played yet, and they are currently top. But I think it's in Man City's hands, because when the two teams are with the same amount of games played, even if they win all their games left, both teams, Man City would be top. Man United against Liverpool next as well. And Aston Villa hanging in there in the Champions League spots, 8 points ahead of a Brighton and Hove Albion team that have just had a fantastic set of results. Also a big shout out to Brighton and Hove Albion as well, because I just read an article earlier on today that said that they are planning to build a new stadium for the women's team, which will be the first of its kind in Europe, and one of only 3 in the world, I believe it said. So well done to Brighton. Bournemouth in 7th. They're unbeaten now in 5, but Chelsea, absolute scenes, chaos. I know I've got a lot of Chelsea fans subscribed to this channel. Let me know what you think is happening, going to happen. I just think under the current system where the management decide to bring in just young players and young managers, it's just not going to work. And Chelsea have had a ridiculous number of managers now over the last 10-15 years. And yeah, if it were me, if I were a Chelsea fan, I'd be quite fed up. Brentford on a bit of a poor run all of a sudden. Fulham have Arsenal next. But I would say that because of the situation, 7th place, we could have an 8th place go into Europe as well, which is currently 48 points. So Brentford and Fulham, and then Everton 47. Sunderland, poor result on the weekend we'll look at. Still in that mix, maybe even Crystal Palace actually, although they have Bournemouth next. And then down the bottom, Nottingham Forest with that massive win. They've got Chelsea next, so maybe they'll be looking to get another win. They're in 16th now with 39 points. Newcastle United kind of being dragged into the relegation battle on a very poor run. I'm worried about Eddie Howe's job. West Ham now in 17th. They've gone on a pretty decent run recently, 36 points for them. And Tottenham with 34 points finally got a win, but they got Aston Villa next. Burnley are gone, as are Wolves. Okay, so previous results. We've seen Man City against Arsenal, obviously. I watched the match. I was hoping for Arsenal to win, but actually I think Man City truly deserved it. The Arsenal goal was just a mistake by Donnarumma, and I thought the Man City had quite a grasp on the match. I thought Arsenal were too defensive at times. They did come out to the blocks at certain points in the match, but yeah, I think Man City were just too much for them. Big win for Nottingham Forest there, 4-1 with a hat-trick for Gibbs-White. They've changed their formation a little bit. See if it'll show it. No. I think they've gone to like a front 2 with Igor Jesus coming off wood now that he's back from injury. And that means that Gibbs White has got more of a role roaming around, and he is having a whale of a time. What else? Yes, Man United lost at home to Leeds, who are pushing further away from the relegation zone. 2 goals for Okafor, another one from Casemiro. Is he like one of their top scorers this season now, all of a sudden? Then we had Man United beating Chelsea. Goal from Cunha. Aston Villa winning against Sunderland 4-3 with a late goal from Abram. Liverpool winning the Merseyside derby 2-1 with a 100th minute goal from Van Dijk. Then we had obviously the big one, which we talked about already. Crystal Palace, West Ham 0-0, Brighton. And I watched this match as well, and I got to say Chelsea were very poor. There was just no cohesiveness at the back, and definitely no cohesiveness up front. When you look at the stats, they didn't even have a shot on target for the entire match. They were just completely bowled over. Welbeck, maybe he'll be going on the plane to the States, who knows. Bournemouth 2, Leeds 2, Burnley 0, Man City 1, Burnley being relegated. And then Nottingham Forest beating Sunderland 5-0. And as I said, we had this up front. They had 2 players, which meant that certain other players, they're more or less like a front 4. So good to see Nico Williams doing really, really well. Very shocked at that result. But it was one of those ones that literally everything they hit went into the back of the net. I don't think Sunderland were even... I mean, they were poor, but they weren't that poor. I read online that if Régis Le Prix doesn't get Sunderland into Europe this year, he's going to get sacked. And that is the most ridiculous thing. It has to be completely made up, because Sunderland obviously must be really pleased to not be anywhere near relegation. The fact that they're that high up is a bonus, but sacking such a good manager for that reason would be absurd. One of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of. Fulham beating Aston Villa 1-0 with a nice little goal from Sessegnon. I thought it was well deserved. Aston Villa having a little bit of a day. Well, they did have chances on goal. I watched that match as well. They were decent. I watched the start of the Crystal Palace match. 3-1 to Liverpool, but Salah getting injured as he played his last game at home for Liverpool. West Ham Everton 2-1 to them again. West Ham picking up points. Wolves then losing home to Tottenham. Paulinho with the late goal, 82nd minute, but Simons not only being ruled out of the whole of the rest of the season with an injury, but also for Netherlands World Cup campaign as well. And then Arsenal beating Newcastle with a goal from Eze, 1-0 to the Arsenal. And last night 2-1 Man United, another goal from Šeško, another goal from Casemiro, giving Brentford a defeat after 4 draws. I think they might have had 5 draws in the last couple of games. Okay, so that's the Premier League catch-up. Championship is done. We've got, well, nearly, I think we've got 1 game left, right? Yeah, 1 game left. Coventry City are officially top. Well done, champions, they've been promoted. After tonight's game, Ipswich are now in 2nd spot, now that all the games have been caught up with. Millwall are down into 3rd. Middlesbrough take on Wrexham on the last day of the season, which could be interesting. Southampton still in it and Wrexham themselves, but Hull City and Derby County still waiting to pounce. They both got tricky games though. Hull against Norwich are only 9th, and Derby against Sheffield United, although that's maybe a slightly easier one on paper. And then we've got Swansea, my Swansea down in 11th place. I think if we can maybe, well, I suppose all of the news at the moment is about us selling Jan Vipotnik. If we can try and get someone who scores goals in with the money that we get from him, then, because it's 100% profit, we had him on a free, then, you know, maybe we can target the playoffs next year. We're only 9 points away now. And after the start to the season we had under the previous manager, then, under this manager, if it all goes well, if we sort of started the season at the point that Victor Matos came to us, I think we'd be in the playoffs now. And then down the bottom we got Oxford, who are gone. Officially there's nothing to play for in that sense in the last day of the season. Leicester, who have very surprisingly gone as well, after their points deduction was upheld, and Sheffield Wednesday, who went a while ago. Women's Super League, Man City are top. Just a couple of games left. Chelsea are second, Man United in third, but being chased by a very in-form Arsenal, and below them a very out-of-form Tottenham, with Leicester City down the bottom, far away from any sort of survival hopes. Very exciting time in Scotland still. We're in the Championship group stage now. 5 finals for Hearts, and they've passed their first test only just in the derby. So we've had Celtic beat Falkirk 3-1. Then we had Rangers, so they were further away. Rangers, who could have gone top, lost at home to Motherwell, surprisingly, with 2 goals from Longello, or Longello, I'm not sure. And then I was watching the scores to see how they would do. Hibs, they're huge enemies. They're huge rivals in the derby. Were winning 1-0, but then 2 red cards, and Hearts managed to get an own goal and a lovely goal from Spittle at the end. So 2-1 winners to stay top. And they are against Rangers next. Then Motherwell, Celtic, Rangers in the old firm derby before Hearts take on Falkirk, and then end the season away to Celtic. It's going to be a good one. Cymru Premier all wrapped up. We're in the playoffs for the European spots now. We've had Penabont Bridgend beating Colwyn Bay on penalties, and a comeback from Haverfordwest to beat Barry Town on penalties as well. So the final is going to be Penabont or Bridgend against Haverfordwest, and that's on this weekend. Other than that though, TNS obviously finished top. Connah's Quay came in second, and Carnarvon won the cup, so they automatically qualified for Europe as well. Does that mean you've got 4 spaces this year? I thought we only had 3. And Northern Ireland Larne are top, 3 points ahead of Coleraine, with is it all done? Is the league finished? Oh, so that's the champion then. Congrats to Larne, who have won the league by 3 points over Coleraine. Glentoran came third, Linfield, Cliftonville and Dungannon Swifts, with Glenavon being relegated and Crusaders in the relegation playoff. Okay, Bundesliga. So Bayern setting records everywhere at the moment. Borussia Dortmund in second, Leipzig and Stuttgart in the top 4. Hoffenheim having a superb season. They've got Stuttgart next, and they're on equal points as well. And then Bayer Leverkusen in 6th, who have got Leipzig next, and Eintracht Frankfurt, and they are in 7th spot, but they are drawing with Freiburg as well, actually, interestingly. And then further down the table, we've got St. Pauli in the relegation playoff spot, just above them, city rivals Hamburger, Cologne just above them on the same points, and Union Berlin 1 point ahead, as well as Werder Bremen and Borussia Mönchengladbach, Wolfsburg in 19th and Heidenheim in 18th, who got Bayern next, so good luck. That game on the weekend, though. That was absolutely insane. Mainz were 3-0 up. I watched the first half and then I went out and I thought, I'll see the result, the final result. I looked at my phone an hour later and yeah, it's like some sort of video game. Bayern München scored 4 in the second half, with Kane scoring the winner on the 83rd minute. What an incredible comeback. Other than that, we saw Heidenheim actually beating St. Pauli 2-0, Hamburger losing at home to Hoffenheim, and Borussia Dortmund beating Freiburg 4-0 by Girassi, Bensebaini and Silva. The second Bundesliga, Schalke are top. Yeah, one of my favourite teams in Germany. That's nice. It looks like they are coming back to the Bundesliga. 6 points. Oh no, there's quite a few games to play actually. Maybe not. Maybe I should not jump the gun. Paderborn in second and Hanover, huge team in third in the I guess that's the relegation playoff that they'd have with St. Pauli currently. Hertha Berlin in 6th, Kaiserslautern 7th, Nuremberg in 8th, and then Magdeburg, Greuther Fürth and Preußen Münster down the bottom. Serie A. So Inter are still top, Napoli in second, 10 points behind, but they just had a big result. Milan are having a little bit of a wobble. Juventus doing well at the minute. Como sort of coming back after some very tough fixtures. Roma doing what Roma do best and just being completely unpredictable. Atalanta in 7th. They're now 6-7 points adrift of Roma. It does look likely that 7th spot will also be a European spot if Lazio don't win the Coppa Italia. If they do, then I think the other teams left are like Inter, Napoli, Milan or something. So as long as Lazio don't win it, then 7th spot gets it, otherwise it'll be Lazio. And down the bottom, Fiorentina moving away from the relegation spots now in 15th, and Cremonese, Verona and Pisa. Pisa and Verona, I think, are almost surely gone now with 4 games left. But Cremonese could still catch Lecce, but Cagliari, I think, are out of trouble. Big results recently. We saw Milan-Juve 0-0. Torino managed to get a 2-2 draw with Inter. Como back to winning ways against Genoa. Duvicas and Diao with the goals there. Roma surprisingly beating Bologna quite easily, the team that put them out of the Europa League, with a very early goal from Donny Mala and another goal from El Ainaoui, who had a man of the match performance, although here gave Mala the man of the match. And Napoli beating Cremonese 4-0. Another goal from McTominay, a returning goal from De Bruyne, Terracciano and Santos with the other goals. Serie B really quickly. Venezia are top and Monza in second, although that could still change. It's very close in that league. Eredivisie in the Netherlands, PSV Eindhoven miles ahead after the little wobble still. They are in the Klassiker against Ajax on the weekend. Feyenoord in second. One of these teams I really want to see more of, Nijmegen, with this amazing tactic that they have of just everyone attacking. I think Bayern Munich are a little bit weak in defence. Then you should see Nijmegen. I'd love to see them in Europe next year. They're actually in the Champions League spots at the second. Ajax in 4th, 1 point behind Twente, Alkmaar, Heerenveen and Utrecht, who keep bobbing in and out of the playoff spots. Groningen back after a terrible run in 9th, and then Volendam in 15th, Telstar in the relegation playoff, Breda and Heracles Heracles in big trouble at the moment. Ligue 1, Paris Saint-Germain, 6 points ahead now after Lens' recent draw, although they have Nice next, and Nice are in big trouble down the bottom. Oh, 5 points away, actually, in 3 draws, so they're slowly getting a little bit better. Lyon in 3rd, and Lille in 4th. Rennes and Marseille make up the top 6. When did Marseille change their badge then? That's interesting. Monaco, surprisingly, out of the top spots, and no Europe for them if they don't get a good run together. Strasbourg in 8th as well. And like I said, Nice and then Auxerre in the playoff. Nantes and Metz in the relegation spots. And La Liga. So Barcelona are top on a fantastic run. We have the El Clásico coming up soon, but I think Mbappe has an injury. So Real Madrid in 2nd, Villarreal in 3rd, and Atleti in 4th. Just got a win after a poor run, but they're still 10 points after 4 losses in a row. They're 10 points ahead of 5th spot, so I don't see them losing out of the Champions League. They did, however, lose the cup final to Real Sociedad, who have got European football for next year. And of course they're in the semi-final, which I'll be watching probably around the time that you are watching this video tomorrow night. Real Betis and Getafe surprisingly make up the top 6. Celta Vigo dropping to 7th now on a poor run, including being knocked out of Europe this week. Athletic Club in 11th, Rayo Vallecano in 10th, 11th, Valencia in 12th. Thank goodness not. Well, they're only 5 points ahead of relegation, and in the relegation spot I've just noticed is Sevilla, who I said at the start of the season needed to be very careful not to drop into the next division down after some very weird and underperforming seasons. Levante below them, as well as Real Oviedo, who surely are going to go down. La Liga 2, Racing Santander and Almería looking to bounce back up, as well as Deportivo La Coruña, previous champions of the La Liga, Castellón, Las Palmas and Burgos amongst them as well. Okay, let's go further afield then to the MLS. 9 or 10 games played in each case, so we've got the Eastern Conference. Nashville are top, Inter Miami are 2nd, 3 points behind, Chicago in 3rd, and Philly down the bottom in 15th, whilst in the Western Conference San Jose are top, Vancouver Whitecaps in 2nd, and Los Angeles LAFC are in 3rd spot, with Sporting Kansas down the bottom on a terrible run, only 1 win and 1 draw so far. In the Supporter Shield we've got San Jose Earthquakes at the top spot, whilst Nashville is actually down in 3rd spot. Interesting. And the worst team of all so far is Sporting Kansas. This is going to be a short video today, so I'm just going to dip into the leagues from here on in. Canada started back, Forge are unbeaten and are top. Cavalry are just below them in this slightly revamped version of the Canadian Premier League. Serie A is still ongoing. Palmeiras are top after 13 matches. Flamengo are in 2nd spot. Fluminense are in 3rd, and Sao Paulo are in 4th. And Atlético Paranaense in 5th and Bahia in 6th. I've actually been lucky enough to watch some more Brazilian matches this year, although my favourite team, Atlético Minas Gerais, is not doing too well. They just got absolutely battered by Flamengo. Santos, Mirassol, Remo and Chapecoense down the bottom. It's confirmation, losing 4-0 at home. 2 goals from Pedro Plata and De Arrascaeta with the goals. Palmeiras beating Red Bull 1-0 with a goal from Lopez. And Sao Paulo beating Mirassol 1-0, Luciano with the goal. And on Saturday, Botafogo 2-0 with Internacional. Danilo Medina, Carbonero and Bernabé with the goals. And lastly, Santos drawing away from home against Bahia, Juban José, and for Santos, Rolheiser with 2 penalties. And the Liga Profesional, they've changed their badge, of Argentina. Estudiantes top Boca Juniors second in the Apertura Group A. Independiente down in 7th. And bottom are Deportivo Riestra. Whilst in Group B, Independiente Rivadavia are first, with River Plate in 2nd. And Huracan in 7th. Racing Club are in 9th. Tigre in 10th. And Estudiantes de Rio Cuarto in 15th. How did the big two do? So River Plate just beat Aldosivi 3-1 with goals from Galoppo, Colidio and Paez. And Boca just beat Defensa y Justicia 4-0. Jimenez, Velasco Barreiro and Merentiel with the 4 goals. Liga MX, top up Pumas. Wow, one of the most supported teams in the country, but they don't usually even, well, they're scrapping to get in the playoffs normally, but after 17 games and a lot of decent purchases, they are top. Chivas in 2nd, who are the opposite. They only have their Mexican players, they don't have any foreigners, and they use their youth team really well, similar to Athletic Bilbao. They're in 2nd, Cruz Azul in 3rd, Pachuca, Toluca slumped a little bit, Atlas Tigres and Club America. In fact, after 17 games, I think that is the end of the Clausura, so we're in the playoffs next. Tigres will take on Chivas, Atlas Cruz Azul, America against Pumas, Toluca Pachuca, and then the return fixtures. So good luck to all those teams. Maybe Cruz Azul will win for the first time that I've been aware of. Tell me in the comments when was the last time they won it. Okay, last couple of minutes then of this video. So Premier Division in Ireland, St. Pat's are still top, ahead of Shamrock Rovers, who just lost a match. Who did they lose to? To Derry. Derry 1-0. They go from Clark. So that is the top of the table in Ireland. Then in Portugal, Porto still top 7, 7 points ahead of Benfica now, with Sporting down in 3rd. But Benfica still haven't lost a match. This crazy result, they are going to go unbeaten, invincible, but not win the league. Braga in 4th, and then down the bottom, Casabia, Tondela and Futebol Sad, SAD Avies. Okay, Super League, Galatasaray are still top, ahead of their rivals Fenerbahce. Trabzonspor and Beşiktaş are in the European spots, with Eyüpspor, Kayserispor and Fatih Karagümrük in the relegation spots. The Allsvenskan has started back. Sirius, after 4 matches, surprisingly is top. Elfsborg and Malmö, with Häcken and Hammarby making up the top 5. And then we have the Ekstraklasa, and it is very extra this year. Lech Poznan now are top 3 points ahead of Górnik Zabrze. Jagiellonia Białystok still could win it. It's getting harder though, it's starting to break away a little bit. And Raków Częstochowa in 4th. But we've had so many things. When I last looked, Zagłębie Lubin were top, and now they're 7th. And Legia Warszawa are teeter-tottering above the relegation spots. They've got a big game against Widzew Łódź next. Arka Gdynia and Termalica Nieczecza are in the spots at the bottom of the table. In Belgium, Union Saint-Gilloise are still top. Club Brugge in 2nd, but Sint-Truiden having this amazing season, still in 3rd for European spots, and Anderlecht in 4th, now ahead of Gent or Mechelen, who've also had an excellent season. Norway's just started back. Tromsø is first, Viking second, Lillestrøm and Molde making up the top 4. And then in Hellas in Greece, AEK Athens are top, 5 points ahead of Olympiakos, with PAOK Thessaloniki and Panathinaikos in the top 4. In Russia, Krasnodar are still just keeping a hold of Zenit St. Petersburg, try and get them to not win the league for the 2nd year in a row. Lokomotiv and my team Spartak are in 4th. In Denmark, Midtjylland are now top over AGF. Oh no, really? I thought we were going to have a new champion. Nordsjælland make up the top 3 with Brøndby down in 5th. In Austria, Lask are top on head-to-head by the looks of it, because it's 30 points and a worse goal difference than Sturm Graz. Salzburg, Rapid Wien and Austria Wien are making up the top 5. Of course, it's Switzerland where all the fun's happening, because FC Thun are definitely champions now, surely. Oh, there's still a couple of games to go. I don't know if they can be caught. I don't think they can. St. Gallen in 2nd and Lugano in 3rd. So I really, really hope they are having a little bit of a wobble, but surely they'll get over the line now. Surely. Come on, Thun. This tiny, tiny team who's going to win the league is going to be like Leicester winning the league. In Czechia, Slavia Praha, almost certainly champions now. Yeah, I think they're doing the playoffs, so I think they won the league. Sparta Prague in 2nd, Victoria Plzeň and Jablonec in 3rd and 4th. And still crazy things happening in Ukraine. Shakhtar are top, but then Cherkasy and Zhytomyr are both in the European spots ahead of Dynamo Kiev, which is kind of crazy. And just to close out the video, the A-League in Australia, Newcastle Jets are top after 26 matches with 48 points, Adelaide in 2nd and Auckland dropping a little but still doing pretty well in 3rd. J-League, the East Conference, Kashima Antlers are top, FC Tokyo and Machida Zelvia are in 3rd. Commiserations to Machida Zelvia, who in their first ever international tournament, they got to the Champions League final in Asia and lost it just 1-0 in extra time to the reigning champions Al Ahly from Saudi Arabia. Well done, hats off to you. Hope to see you back next year. Maybe you can clinch the title. And in the West Conference, Vissel Kobe top, Nagoya Grampus and Gamba Osaka in the top 3. The K-League in South Korea, FC Seoul are top, miles ahead now of Ulsan in 2nd and Jeonbuk, who are in 3rd. My favourite team, Incheon, are in 5th. And the Saudi Pro League, Al Nassr, Ronaldo's Al Nassr look like getting this title over the line. They've got just a handful of games to go. Oh no, quite a few actually. And they are top for the moment with 29 games played. Unbeaten Al Hilal are chasing them, but they are 5 points behind. And back-to-back Champions League winners Al Ahly are in 3rd. Okay, I'll be back with a Champions League, Europa League, Conference League video very soon. But until then, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, comment on it, and subscribe if you haven't